Okay, ladies and gentlemen, in this video we're going to cover the 3 biggest lies that we've been told about jazz theory. And this stuff is going to blow your mind, and I'm also going to tell you how we can resolve these issues to make our life as jazz musicians trying to understand harmony and that whole bit a whole lot better. Alright, let's do it. First one I want to start out with is melodic minor. What we call melodic minor in jazz, in fact, is not actually melodic minor. I think that this convention is so terrible that we do this in jazz that it actually stops you from being able to make the kind of progress that you need to make to really understand what's going on melodically and harmonically with the music. So let's talk about what the problem is by first addressing what melodic minor actually is. So in classical music, the go-to minor is pure minor or natural minor. I'm going to say this in reference to the key of C. So in C minor, we got E flat, A flat, and B flat. The problem is, with this scale, you cannot build a dominant 7 chord on the 5 chord. So let's create a way of resolving this harmony issue, because we need the harmony to be different. So let's create a harmonic device, a harmonic scale that will allow us to be able to build a dominant 7 chord on the 5 chord. So instead of having a B flat, you have a B natural. We call this harmonic minor. But when you play through this scale, when you start to devise lines, melodically it sounds kind of weird. So they were like, okay, now we have a melodic problem because this melody sounds strange. So let's fix it by ascending. We will use a natural 6 with this scale. So now the only thing that we have lowered is the E flat, which is the minor third. It's the only thing you need to do to make a chord minor anyway, or make a scale minor anyway. The reason why we have the upward scale this way is because the B natural, being a leading tone, wants to go up. And the way these things are defined very much reflect how they are used. I'm going to come back to this later. But it doesn't sound very minory anymore. So on the way down, when we're descending, we don't have this major thing. We don't have that going up anymore. So we can go back to pure minor. So this convention of having a scale that's different on the way up than it is on the way down serves a very, very important function in classical music. But guess what? Not just in classical music. We do the same type of convention in jazz all the time, specifically with the blues. If we had learned the blues with this type of melodic minor convention, we would all be much, much better at playing the blues. Here's an example. I should have been playing that the whole time. Why didn't you tell me, Obi-Wan? So what should we actually call what we are calling melodic minor? I've taken it upon myself to just change this to something that actually makes more sense, and it's stuff that we already use anyway. So what we call melodic minor in jazz, we should be calling Dorian major 7. We already label stuff like this with Dorian flat 2, Locrian sharp 2, Mixolydian flat 6. We already have this convention. Even when you see a chord written out, you see it written out as C minor, which is Dorian minor, triangle 7. So It's already in the nomenclature that we use to describe what this scale is. Okay, let's move on. Another one. We often define a blues scale as being some type of minor pentatonic with this flat 5 passing tone. But this is only true part of the time. The only time this is true is when we're playing a minor blues. When we are actually playing a dominant 7, a Mixolydian blues, this is absolutely positively not true at all. What we actually have is the root, the sharp 9, the perfect 4, the sharp 4 or flat 5 as a chromatic passing tone, the perfect 5th, the flat 7. And if you notice, this scale does not have a third, so it's a type of suspension. When we resolve this suspension, it starts to actually sound like the blues that we all know and love. If only there was a way we had a scale that was different on the way up and on the way down. Another one. This one isn't so much a lie, but I want to just make a clarification on something. And it has to do with the major bebop scale versus the 6th diminished scale. So here's what a major bebop scale sounds like. Here's what a 6th diminished scale sounds like. The name that we give something very strongly implies its function. So if we call a scale a major bebop scale, we're going to use it in a major bebop scale fashion. However, if we call a scale a 6th diminished scale, this is Barry Harris's thing. It's defined as either a major or a minor 6th chord interlaced with a diminished chord. And when you overlap those two, you build the 6th diminished scale. When you build chords off of this scale, you are really just alternating between a major or a minor 6th scale and a diminished scale. It's a really beautiful thing. I have my own derivation of this that I call a reversed diminished scale. Basically, if you build up your diminished scale using whole steps and half steps and reverse the pattern halfway through, you still build a diminished chord, but then you wind up with this reversed diminished scale. You wind up, depending on what degree you start on, with either your major bebop scale or your 6th diminished scale. But I just want to make a clarification on that. Okay, let's move on. This is going to be coming out very soon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Sirvalorsax's All Things Diminished. I got fully diminished, half diminished, reverse diminished, 6th diminished, diminished whole tone or whole tone diminished. Everything you wanted to know about diminished scales. This is an 80-page book. This will be sold as a digital purchase. I also created play-alongs with this, but the play-alongs will not be on this channel. I just set up a new channel by popular demand called Sirvalorsax Plays. I'm going to dedicate that channel exclusively to play-alongs and me also just playing songs. It's not going to have any of the pedagogy or any of that kind of stuff in it, but anytime I'm just playing a song and I just want to drop it on YouTube or something like that, it's going to be exclusively on there. You can find those play-alongs in separate folders. So for B flat, E flat, and C instruments, this will be available for you. This is genius. I really like this thing. Okay, and of course I have my Altissimo books for alto and tenor that you can find in the link below. Also, if you really like this kind of stuff and you guys want to support the channel, you can click on the link. You can buy me a piece of cake. It's just like a little tip offering type of thing. We'll post a link for that in the description also. All right, this one is humongous because one of the most important scale chords that we have in all of jazz is the fully altered scale. This is altering every note you can alter in a dominant 7 chord in order to produce the juiciest sound. We say that this is derived from the 7th mode of melodic minor and the 7th mode of the Dorian major 7 scale. Okay, so if we're in the key of C and we use our Dorian major 7 scale, that gives us C, D, E flat, F, G, A, B, C. So let's build this thing up from the B natural. If you do this, you realize that there is a problem that no one ever told you about. When we use the standard convention of building chords from scales, we hit one, skip one, hit one, skip one, hit one, skip one. If you do that to this scale, you find out that you do not actually build a dominant 7 chord. You actually wind up building a half diminished chord. So you can, in fact, wind up making a fully altered dominant 7 chord sound like a half diminished chord if you're not careful. Lucky for us, this scale has no avoid notes, so every note works with the function of a fully altered dominant 7 chord. So how do we get ourselves around this? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so there's 3 ways you can get around this to make sure that you are emphasizing the major 3rd and the flat 7 of a fully altered dominant 7 chord. And the easiest 2 ways to do this is to just start the scale from the 3rd degree or start it from the 7th degree. So for concert, this is going to be your B7 fully altered. So for alto, this is going to be your G sharp or A flat fully altered dominant 7. Let's hear what it sounds like when I start this from the 3rd. This is going to be our C. And then if we start it from the flat 7, another way to do this is to add a chromatic passing tone. I want to add a chromatic passing tone where it will allow the 3rd to line up correctly. But I want to be careful to make sure that I'm not emphasizing the chromatic passing tone, because that kind of ruins the character of that fully altered sound. So let's hear what that sounds like. So if we start that from the concert F or our D, now it plays like a Lydian dominant bebop scale. So I'll start that from the D. Let's hear that. I never heard anybody talk about how broken this scale is when you use it in this manner, but yet it's one of the most important ones. This 7th degree of Dorian major 7, yeah, that's a big one. You're going to need to know that one. I hope I was able to give you some vital information to help you understand jazz theory a lot better, so that way you sound like a better jazz musician. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I got for you. See ya!